Bitches, bros, and non-binary hoes. The Band of Misfits podcast, the showcase of controlled chaos we call our friendship. It is your bitch Panda back on the scene. It's good to be back. I'm excited.
It has been a while.
It's been a 3 weeks actually. Yeah.
Yes, it has. Which at this point, it's a podcast whenever we can do it type situation, simply because work and life and etc. things come up. Or people go out of town, or stuff happens. This is Wolf going ahead and apologizing in advance if you hear me coughing. I went out of town 2 weeks ago, and despite my best efforts, somehow managed to catch COVID.
Lovely.
Very sad. My dad also caught it, but his wasn't as bad. Lucky him. Mine was actually fairly bad. Like, I felt really, really sick. Like, to the point where I really wasn't doing much. I was just kind of laying there, feeling miserable. Long story short, I had gotten back in town Saturday. Sunday I worked. And I had noticed Sunday my vision was starting to get messed up. My right eye was starting to get fuzzy. I just thought it was something with my contact, so I ignored it. Popped my contact out, cleaned it, put it back in. Didn't fix it. I was like, okay, well that's weird. When I went home later that night, found out it wasn't the contact, it was my eye. My actual eye's vision was fuzzy. It looked like I was staring through when you take a shower and it gets like super steamy and stuff, and like the mirror's all fogged up. Like, that's what it looked like I was looking through, like a fogged up mirror.
Holy shit.
And it was the weirdest thing in the world. I had no idea why it was happening, so I was like, I'm gonna wait and see if it corrects itself that night. Didn't correct itself. When I woke up, though, it wasn't there immediately, so I didn't worry about it. And then, as I was at work, it came back, which thankfully my dad so kindly went out and got me an eye patch the night before, so I could just put that on to give my eye a break. But it was like, shoot. And then Muse and everybody else that was there encouraged me to go to urgent care and at least get my eye looked at, since I tried to call the eye doctor, but they closed at 5. And I left a voicemail, but I didn't know when they'd be able to fit me in. Luckily, they were able to fit me in the next morning. But, yeah, went to urgent care. They looked at mine, said there was no damage to it, nothing that they could see. So I needed to go to an eye doctor to take a look at the actual cornea and stuff.
Yeah.
Went to the eye doctor. Eye doctor said it looks like your cornea is inflamed, which is causing the blurry vision and stuff. She said, this is going to sound really weird, but on a rare occasion, a very rare occasion, this is a side effect of COVID. Out of curiosity, are you feeling anything? And I was like, I guess my throat's a little sore, but, I wasn't really paying attention to that because I sleep with my mouth open. When I sleep really, really deeply, I sleep with my mouth open. And, if you sleep with your mouth open, you wake up and your mouth is dry and your throat's sore. So I didn't think much of it. And she was like, I know you left work to come here, and I know you're planning on going back to work. Do me a favor, go get COVID tested first. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, it's eyeballs. Surely it's not that. Like, has anyone ever heard of a loss of vision because of COVID?
Now I have.
Yeah, now you have. Now I have too. But before, had you ever heard of anybody having vision issues because of COVID?
Nope.
She said, and she was like, it's a very, very rare symptom. But it is a symptom. So please, please, please go get tested. I'm going to be honest. I still almost didn't go get tested. Only reason I went was because I looked at the time and I went, oh, I told them I wouldn't be back for another like 30 minutes. So I had time. I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll go get tested. Why not? It's probably not it. I went there. I was joking with the doctor and the nurse and stuff, you know. And then he comes back out and he knocks on the window. He's like, "Well, you're not going back to work." And I went, "Huh?" He went, "Yeah, you tested positive." I was like, "You're kidding, right?" And he said, "Nope." I was like, "Is there not a thing that you got to send off to like a lab or whatever to check?" And he was like, "No, we passed that point like a year ago. This test is as accurate as it can be." And it came back positive. I went, "I feel fine. I just have an eye that's not working." So called home, told my parents. My dad left work, came home. I had to make like 50 million zillion phone calls that day because I had to call him, and then I had to text my manager. I had to text the produce manager because I was scheduled for both. I was scheduled for shifts in both of those,
Oh man.
and they said I couldn't go back. This was on a Tuesday. Um, they said I couldn't go back until Sunday, and that was only if I had been fever free for 72 hours. Turns out store policy is different. Store policy said that I couldn't go back until Tuesday, so an extra 2 days. Good news was on paid leave. I got paid to sit on my butt and do nothing. However, felt like crap. It hit me. I kid you not, it hit me so hard. It. I woke up Wednesday. I felt like death. Like I spent 90. Like you guys know me. I'm always doing something. I spent most of
Mhm.
the day just laying lifeless in my bed because I felt terrible.
Um,
And it
sucks.
was, yeah, it was horrible. It sucked. But I am better now. I can't say I'm COVID free though, unfortunately, because and my doctor told me this. Even if you are technically considered COVID free because you've taken the test and whatnot, you're fever free for 72 hours and stuff. Some people afterwards will test positive for days or up to weeks, and they'll just keep testing positive. And the few times I've tested after feeling better, it's still coming back positive. I'm not contagious. I can go out and be around people. I can work. I have been working, but it's just that weird thing where I'm testing
Mhm.
positives for some odd reason. I haven't tested in like half a week though, so I'm kind of waiting because my dad needs to order more tests. We kind of ran out of tests. Because he had the test, he tested positive. My mom had a test. My sister had a test. They both tested negative. Thank God. They never caught it, which is
Somehow.
amazing. Yeah, somehow, some way, which is shocking. We actually think my dad had it when we were coming back on the plane, which is probably explains why I caught it because I was helping him pack. I was helping him lift all the suitcases. I was around him a lot more, in closer contact. However, uh, my mom did sit next to him on the plane, but she wore her mask most of the time. He also wore his mask most of the time. So the only times we took our masks off on the plane was to eat. But apparently, because I had close contact with him, I caught it from him. But yeah, so if I cough, I apologize. I have a cough that is not going away. It's annoying the hell out of me. Um, it really is pissing me off. I kid you not. You can ask all the misfits. I am not happy that I have a cough. But yes, that
There
was
it
me.
is.
That was me rambling.
Yeah.
There was me
Oh
rambling.
no,
That's
you're
that's
good.
how I've been spending my past 2 weeks. I went out of town for a week, and it was really nice. But I got sunburned a lot because we went to Cabo, Mexico, and again nice, but how it's very sunny and hot. And because I kept being sunburned super bad, I spent a good like 50% of the trip just indoors. either in the hotel room doing homework because I was still doing classes, or like in a restaurant eating.
Yeah.
I was eating my sunburned sorrows away, as you do.
Yeah, as you do. Yep.
But yeah.
Uh,
So today, this topic was suggested by Latte. It was actually suggested last week, but due to scheduling issues, we could not get enough people. Was still recovering. I want to say somebody was at work. Muse, were you at work?
No, Shioda and I were busy creating a Pandora's box.
Oh, that's right. They
oh
were
yeah.
doing a satanic ritual thing.
Mhm.
And Panda was celebrating Josh's birthday. So,
I was. It's
yep, happy belated birthday to him.
happy birthday. Yep.
But yeah, so we are doing it this week. If you guys would, Latte or Panda would like to introduce the topic for today, it's actually very interesting.
So today's topic, let me just look at. Let me get the exact description we wrote down again.
I would say, yeah, get the exact description from where we talked about it in the group
Okay.
chat.
So, actual podcast description. Why are there so many movie remakes and live actions of animated movies in today's movie market? Basically, which is an excellent fucking question.
Oh yeah,
It's
and
fun.
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea where she came up with that idea, but I am impressed.
Yes, very impressed. I think the remake and the sequels to previous older franchises is a big thing that we're going to be discussing today. In light of the newer Jurassic Park film, Jurassic World film that just came out not that long ago, I believe.
Oh yeah, well,
And yes, and also, what was the last Disney live action?
oh,
I want to say Mulan.
I don't
No,
know. I don't even
Was it
know at this
Mulan?
point.
I don't think so. I feel like that one's
I feel like
older.
there was another one, but I can't even remember at this point.
Aladdin?
I think Aladdin was
Uh,
after, wasn't it?
I
No, Aladdin was before Mulan. I can't
I
remember what it
know
was
we
though.
have Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, Aladdin.
AKA a ridiculously
Lady and
large
the
amount of
Tramp, Lady and the
movies.
Tramp,
Wasn't there?
Dumbo.
Yeah, there's Dumbo.
Uh,
I thought they made like a Little Mermaid one as well.
They're making
no.
they're making a Little Mermaid movie right now. That'll be
Oh,
coming.
it's being made right now. Okay,
Yes, it's being made right now.
okay, that's where I got confused.
Yep. No. It is coming out soon though. So
Mm.
it raises an interesting question of, is this a valid or not valid? Obviously, it's valid filmmaking, but is it a viable long term filmmaking practice? Or
Doing
people going?
remakes. I
Yes,
want to
are
just point
remakes are
out
one thing,
the only
live action
reason
animated are another. So,
the only reason Disney is doing live action versions of their movies is because after 28 years of the movie being out, they basically have to release it to the public for free, and they don't want to do that.
yeah,
And the only reason they can keep it in the franchise is if they make a movie, the exact same title, the exact same movie, in a slightly different way that is recognizably different enough where you can tell it's that movie, but it stands out a bit.
it's sad that I've always been a bit of a film buff. I love films and movies. For those of you that don't know that about me, and I've found that recently I haven't been able to get excited about a movie like I used to. Like obviously Thor: Love and Thunder is coming out, and that looks great. It looks fun. A Marvel movie is always fun. I enjoy those. But I have found that the more recent Marvel even enjoyed as much as I used to with Cold War.
Well, it's because after Endgame,
Yeah.
all of the main people we grew up with, they're not really there anymore.
Yeah.
And so,
But
yeah, the only one that's really got movies still coming out is Thor.
Thor, yeah. Which, yeah, great. At least we have Thor. But personal, and this is just a personal thing. I never enjoyed the movies as much as the Iron Man or Captain America movies. So that's been something that was a bit of a disappointment for me, but not as much. They're great, and I enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy and all those films as well. But
I enjoyed them
I feel
too.
like
I don't think
thing,
Thor.
yeah,
I don't think Thor needed a fourth movie.
I don't think so either.
I liked where they had his story going, and the movie does look interesting. However, it was kind of like it was one of those. Did they need to make that? No. It does look interesting though.
I think the problem with a lot of remakes, I understand Disney doing remakes for like trying not to have stuff go in public domain. I understand that.
Yeah,
but even without
public
that,
domain.
even
Latte, I don't think there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, even public domain thing. The problem with remaking old movies or even TV shows is people already have their idea of perfection.
Exactly, which is why movies like the Mulan movie, which the live-action Mulan movie focused more on the actual original story, which was incredibly different than the one that Disney introduced. And hence why a lot of people didn't see it. And I want to say it was the people who saw it liked it, but a majority of people just didn't go see it because it just wasn't the movie we grew up with.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like recently I've been getting much more excited TV than I have been about film, personally.
And speaking of TV,
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you have Netflix accounts.
Yeah.
I've got Netflix.
But there's this show called Kingdom. It's a Korean, I guess you could call it maybe a drama. I don't know if I'll call it a drama, but it's a zombie apocalypse TV series based in ancient Korea. I'm not going to go all into it, but it was a really unique story setting and with politics and everything. I'd never seen something like that because I was so used to seeing the stereotypical slasher film zombie movie, based in America, where everybody just brings out their torches and guns from under their beds that they just magically have and just decimate everything.
They just happen to be all prepared for the apocalypse, And
we are in America.
Yeah, well, that's why you have to appreciate other countries' movies, and I know this is totally off topic, but if you want to watch a really good zombie movie, Muse, don't watch it. It's actually pretty scary. It's called Train to Busan.
Oh, God.
Amazing. It is
really good.
Literally, I would say it's one of the best zombie movies to watch.
I've never actually watched it, but I can tell you,
I have watched it, and it is so good.
Not gonna watch it.
Don't watch it. Nope, you don't watch it. Listeners, watch it. It's very good.
Well, it's very good, but very scary.
Oh, it's very, very scary.
But yeah,
Kingdom is kind of like how Train to Busan is if you put it in ancient Korea. It's same kind of vibe, you know what I mean? Very complex situation. Yeah. But one thing I liked about Kingdom was the fact that they didn't have all those modern weapons. So people really had to figure out how to deal with, and I'm calling them zombies. I don't know if they'll be technically considered zombies or not because, that's always debatable. Yeah, because sometimes it's infected, sometimes it's zombies, but I'll call them zombies. Because people, they just had swords, arrows, or even some people didn't have that because some people were commoners and they don't have all those weapons. Yeah. And so you literally just had these hordes of zombies decimating cities at a rapid rate because nobody really had anything to prepare for this type of situation. And as
which is the far more realistic view Unlike America, who
Exactly.
likes to think that we are prepared for everything and we'll go out guns blazing.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because as the show progressed, you see how people are trying to learn about the infected and how how they work, what's safe, what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. But
In a
just
very
bringing it.
normal way.
Yes. 1 second.
I don't
Bringing it back.
understand.
Yeah. Just bringing it back to where we were.
I'll say, going back to where we were, as we
Remakes and
got
animations.
wildly
That's
off.
great.
Yeah.
New show or movie on your watch list though, if you're listening. So but it's just I feel like people, the public domain issue is the main issue that I have with the remake thing, is because I feel like big companies like Disney really want to limit the amount of their original properties being used for other creative purposes by the public, which I think really limits what you can do outside of like remakes and live action versions of animation, to be honest.
Well, not only that, but for the live action versions, and I know this is especially true for the Lion King movie, they cared more about making the characters look realistic, fitting realistic lions, fitting realistic animals. That it made it so the movie was basically emotionless, because a lot of people said you couldn't see the emotions on the face of the lions. Like, even when Simba's dad died and he was sounding all upset, people were like, he doesn't look sad, he just looks like he normally does.
He's lying.
I get that you wanted to make it believable. At the same time, though, you're Disney.
Yeah, exactly. But my big issue too is that it stifles the creativity of smaller, less funded screenwriters and movie producers.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, because you have way less intellectual property. Like, you can't make a comic book movie without being in Disney's back pocket. Do you know what I mean? Like, pretty much. Like, Marvel is like or Warner Brothers back pockets, one of those giant companies. Because DC and Marvel are the two biggest comic book companies, and they're both owned by major corporations. Just for example, right? You can't make one of those movies without funding from one of them for approval, and it really limits the creativity of what you can do with a superhero movie.
It really does, because, like, that's why, it took so long to make Deadpool. Because here is this character that literally goes against every single one of Disney's beliefs. But, is technically he would fall under that category of, being owned by Disney. Because, he was, I believe he was, created by Marvel?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is a Marvel character.
Yes, he was created. I don't know why my brain just blinked for a moment, but yes, he is a Marvel character, and literally Marvel is owned by Disney, and he is the opposite of every Disney ideal. He curses, he is vulgar, he makes sexual innuendos all the time. Speaking of which, go see the Deadpool movies. They're absolutely amazing. Ryan Reynolds, you are the best. He pushed for those movies for so long. He took a huge pay cut just to get the movie made. He wanted to be Deadpool so bad.
Right, but I think about that and it makes me sad, because like Ryan Reynolds is a huge, very rich actor. He owns a phone company, like all kinds of other things. And it was awesome of him that he took all that time to make this a movie that's actually worth watching for a fan, But if anyone else, if not another actor or anything, but any regular person that's a huge Deadpool fan, any regular screenwriter that wanted to make a Deadpool, it would have been impossible for them, because Disney just has too much money.
And Disney would have automatically sued them for copyright and shut them down.
Exactly. And Deadpool is technically owned by Marvel, which is owned by Disney. So it's Disney owning everything and refusing to let things go into the public domain, I think, is the
Which
main reason.
which is it gets to the point where they milk things to the point where they're soulless.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just another Disney movie.
Yeah.
And I think another issue I have with the mass-produced remakes is it feels like they're taking hostage people's childhoods in a way where
Yeah.
they're bartering with nostalgia to make profits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would agree.
like I saw a remake. I don't know if it's under Disney, but you know the movie Matilda, right? It's about a little psychic child.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, I love that one.
They're remaking that.
Why?
Because
I
it was
just saw the ad the other
successful.
day.
Because it was successful when they were young, and nowadays it's all about. A lot of corporations are bringing back old movies. Halloween did that, where they brought back the original cast, and those
Oh,
movies are
yeah.
actually really good. But now everybody else is trying to do that, and you wind up with things like the most recent Texas Chainsaw movie, which was absolute garbage. Cliche after cliche horror
Well,
movie
I was
thing,
very
and then the ending was just disappointing as hell. Like, you could see it from a mile away.
Well, I mean, same with like the new Jurassic World or Park or whatever that new one is.
Jurassic Dominion, question mark?
I don't know, but I've heard a lot of bad things about it just because
Oh, yeah.
even though they brought back a bunch of the old characters and actors, you almost have no dinosaurs in that movie.
Right.
Yeah, I heard it was a lot about the people instead of the actual, hey, it's a Jurassic movie.
Right.
Yep.
I think.
well. I
Yeah.
think
Go ahead.
that reason why I don't like, at least talk about the Matilda movie that they're remaking, is it's timeless. And timeless in the sense of, if you actually look at the movie, there's not too many era things in it that just make it feel super dated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it's a classic.
Like I'll use an example. Sometimes we have movies that are like really old. It's kind of hard to watch it because you can't identify with anything going on. You don't even understand what's going on. Kind of
Right.
like old.
Yeah, they talk about like
what-
Rolodex and stuff, and everybody's like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like in the Matilda movie, they didn't do too much that was like era indicating. Then now they're remaking it, it's almost like a shot for shot remake type of situation. And if you're going to do that, just watch the original.
I'll
You
say
know.
you don't need a
And-
remake. If they're gonna do that, there's no need for a remake.
Exactly. I would much rather them of and make a movie similar to Matilda, maybe with a similar concept, not a copy, but maybe a new genre of that.
Yeah, like
It
another kid woke up and has these powers, and it's their journey of using them and discovering them and seeing what they can do and stuff.
Yeah. No, I think remakes have a great potential. Like, for example, like West Side Story got remade this past year, and it was fantastic. Like, the new version was great, and it updated a lot of outdated things about the version that made it almost unwatchable for most kids.
Mhm.
You know, like the fact that all the Latin actors were played by white people in the original is no longer except for the exception of the incredible Miss Rita Moreno, who played Anita in the original version. She was the only Puerto Rican actress in the entire film.
I remember that.
Yeah, but the modern version really updates that, and you see, like, of course, Hamilton legend, Miss Ariana DeBose playing Anita, the new one. Played the bullet in Hamilton. If you're a big Hamilton fan,
Oh yes.
And I agree with what you meant about like updating things, like like they're talking about like the actors being accurate portrayals of people of that demographic,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of older movies, I will admit, that had people playing minority characters who didn't match racially or stereotype.
Right.
Those people, like Breakfast, I think it's called, what's it called, Breakfast at
Breakfast
Tiffany?
at Tiffany's, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Breakfast
like
at
who did
Tiffany's.
that? And,
Ricky, what's his face?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, he absolutely horrendous yellow face portrayal of the Japanese man is just
Oh
terrible.
yeah. Yeah, those
Yeah.
are some of the movies where you can't watch them because they're so cringe.
Yeah, And it's a shame because West Side Story is a fantastic show and really fun to watch. So I was really happy that they remade it, of course, with the exception of Ansel Elgort and Tony. But yeah, we'll move past that. Everyone else was great. So,
Well,
so
you can't win them all,
you can't
unfortunately.
win them all. You
Can't
can't win them all.
can't have a perfect cast as much as they try.
Yeah, no, but
But they did a really damn good job trying.
with
Like
everyone
one
else.
movie
Absolutely.
I wish they would remake is like Dracula. Honestly,
Like
like
the
you
original
gotta
Yes,
Dracula.
have.
remake the original monster movies.
It would be
Oh
so good.
yeah,
The
me and my
original.
mom were
Yeah.
actually watching the original not too long ago. Like the silent film kind of version.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching that, and I was just remember seeing it. I'm like, this is so cool. I wish they remake this, but I got Matilda instead.
Yeah, you get the
Yeah,
movies that you
exactly.
don't ask to be remade.
Exactly. I feel like people in the public consciousness, there's this. I feel like capitalism has really like diminished what a remake can be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like these companies are so focused on going by our own childhoods and cashing on that nostalgia, they miss an opportunity for something really beautiful and creative. And
Well,
that's the big
it's
problem.
not only that, they're also trying to cash in on the, oh, can we bring back the original cast?
That kind of thing too. Exactly. The
Yeah,
nostalgia of it
and
all.
Which is
Like
what
yeah,
Halloween did
weird.
successfully, and I will admit, I watched the Scream movie, and it actually wasn't bad. I would say that it did successfully bring back the original cast. But then you get
but
things like Jurassic and
and something
uh, Texas Chainsaw, where it's
yeah,
just you just butcher it,
exactly.
and it's like we didn't need this, we didn't ask
Exactly.
for it.
It's like the 2013 Evil Dead remake. Now, if anyone is aware, my brother and I do love Evil Dead. We enjoy the franchise and the video game together. It's great.
And we will
But
stream that game at some point in the future.
very fun. But anyway, they then 2013 they made a remake of Evil Dead. For those of you that are too young to oh god, please don't be too young to remember it. Because you were too young when it came out. No, bad. Oh my god. It came out in 2013 and it was just completely just a separate entity from the original Evil Dead movie. If you know nothing about the production of the original Evil Dead film, it's the first one. It was just an absolute fever dream. Right? Sam Raimi had absolutely no money when he made Evil Dead. It was his very first movie. They went to a backwoods cabin in Tennessee to film it, and because it was cheap, and everyone just slept in the cabin during the show. Multiple people were injured. Like they drank actual moonshine on set, from what I remember, not just water because they knew nothing about
For what
legality.
movie?
Evil Dead,
Oh, yeah, I heard about
original
that.
Evil Dead film. Yeah, this Bruce Campbell, I think, actually had like this massive pustule filled with like what was it? Latex. That's right, from latex like hand they'd use when Cheryl was a demon or something, and he got latex stuck in his under his skin and it got infected. And it was like that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So they had to pop it, and it was just the most foul substance known to man inside my fucking pustule. It was like, but it made it such a unique and oddly goofy experience, and you can see the heart and love that Sam Raimi put into the original Evil Dead films.
Yeah, you can tell that
But
they're not, trying to milk it for all it's worth, trying to
exactly,
revive a franchise to set off a new
exactly.
thing.
Like, oh my goodness, Ash versus Evil Dead was one of the Evil Dead revivals that I enjoyed because Bruce Campbell was still in it, but they made him, the age he is now, which is like 65, I believe, and like, hey, Ash is getting sick of doing this shit. It was part of the joke,
Mm-hmm.
but when they remade it, it's like all the soul of the Evil Dead franchise was just sucked out of it. It was gory, absolutely, as Evil Dead always is. It's also like just absolutely
It
soulless.
seemed like
It's
they were trying too hard.
make it way too really scary and just completely straight faced horror film, which is the opposite of what Evil Dead is a comedic based horror franchise. it's I don't know. It's you got to be really careful with remakes that you're not just doing it to try and harp on a fan's nostalgia for the original. You know,
Exactly.
like Alien.
That you're not trying to milk the fans for all they're worth. That you're actually
Exactly.
giving the movie the heart and soul it deserves.
Exactly.
And that's why movies, again, that's like why movies like the newest Jurassic film failed. It just
Yeah.
didn't have anything that the original had. It lacked all of it. And fans, we could tell.
Hmm.
And I'll admit,
And here's
haven't
an
seen it.
odd question.
Don't know if I'm gonna see it, but
Oh.
And here's an odd question for y'all.
Mhm.
Do you think there should be, I wouldn't say a limit like legally, nothing legally, but just for remakes to happen, do you think there should be a certain amount of years before they remake a movie? Especially a classic.
yes, I think they need to wait a certain amount of time before they decide to remake it, out of respect for the original. Now, if it was a really bad movie that flopped, be my guest to remake it. Maybe it will be better.
Hmm.
That's probably why, though, like with the remakes going back to Disney, like the princess ones, why those did so well is because it was decades
Well,
since
only
they
only
remade.
select Disney movies did well.
Well, no, I mean specifically like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, like
Yeah,
the
but those
two
are the only
Dis
two that really did well.
again princess ones,
Well, I mean,
or
an
even
argument could be
Aladdin.
made.
Aladdin did well too.
Oh no, I did not like that movie.
Here's my issue with the Aladdin remake. My issue with the Aladdin remake is that first of all, they tried to give Jasmine a song, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the thought is nice and all, but the whole point of Aladdin not having a song of Jasmine not having a song is because Howard Ashman had this very specific formula for how a musical should work, right? He believed like, oh yes, there's an I want some hero, right? Let's use Beauty and the Beast, the original Beauty and the Beast as an example, right? Beauty and the Beast is just like beautifully made film. It was Howard Ashman's magnum opus before he tragically passed away from AIDS, like right after it was completed. Um, he he had the opening song just to introduce the world, and oh, this is how we view everything, right? Right. Aladdin has that opening song, and so does Beauty and the Beast, right? We have the I Want song, which is when the hero, oh, I want this, and blah, 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 plot progression, and then the villain gets an I am song, right?
Mhm.
This is who I am. I'm selfish, or I am this, this, this. You see it in The Lion King.
Well,
Scars.
so yeah, and it's the villain song. You kind of need them to have a song to introduce themselves.
Like, it has to be an I am song, right? It can't be an I want song. It can be an I want song. An I want song can work. Like, Hunchback of Notre Dame's villain song is not an I am song. But it works because it's terrifying.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it works because they did a really damn good job with it.
Exactly, but it's very rare that that works. Like if Gaston had had an "I Want" song where he sings about how he's in love with Belle and it's the one thing that's been robbed of him or whatever. Yeah, you wouldn't feel as bad for the Beast, right? Like
No.
you, no, Gaston can't have an "I Want" song. He needs an "I Am" song, right? So then after that, we can have a love song. We can have a love song in our musical movie if we have a romantic lead, right? It occurs in Beauty and the Beast, right? There is
Mhm.
one cut song from Beauty and the Beast that's about like them being human again. I love that song, but it's more of a icing on the cake type thing for it.
Yeah.
And that's all. There's not actually that many songs in Beauty and the Beast when you boil it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like 5 or 6 maximum,
Yeah.
and
No. When you look at it as
it
a whole,
doesn't.
there really isn't that many.
It doesn't need any more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things where everybody, and it's I understand it. People want women to be able to have this, but I feel like it was the pressure.
It's
Like, why
Jasmine
do
is
the guys get all the songs? Why doesn't Jasmine get a song?
I think it's less that than it is like, we need more songs and we want to learn more about Jasmine. But you already know, like, if you watch the original, Howard Ashman also wrote the script for that. But again, he passed away from AIDS tragically
Yeah.
before it was being produced. And they added a couple of songs into Aladdin that after he died. But Aladdin still works mainly because it was still, for the most part, following Howard Ashman's original formula.
I'll say it was his vision. They actually followed it.
So for the most part, yeah. But you already know a lot about Jasmine without her having a song.
She didn't need a song.
It's all very show don't tell with Jasmine. She, like, the moment we first meet her, she's sneaking into a market, like, and immediately being intelligent enough to play along with a ruse to get out of trouble, and
there goes my dog.
able to jump between buildings, like, by herself, not afraid to leverage her authority to try and save somebody else. Like, you learn so much about Jasmine within the first, 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Without her having a song. We need Street Rat at the beginning to learn a little bit more about Aladdin. Like, it helps progress his background
not to
story.
mention, he is the main character.
Right. Yeah, sure.
It is his story.
Right, that absolutely. And Jasmine doesn't need her own song because I believe it's getting into tell don't show territory when she gets that. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we already know that she wants independence. They've made it very clear through the entire film that she wants to be independent and she wants to be able to make her own choices. Like, you don't need a song to tell you that. Like, you already know all that. Like,
the way her character was written, it was written so she would show the audience instead of...
I mean, outright.
He basically took that away.
Outright, when Aladdin comes back to Prince Ali, you come and try and win. Like, and they start arguing about what's best for her. She just straight up says, man, fuck all three of you.
It's like, why do you get to decide, what's best for me?
Decide what I want. She's sassy and intelligent and has her own morals that aren't necessarily backed up by the society she's living in. The purpose of a song in a musical is one of two things. It should be to either help progress the plot or help us learn more about the character who's singing it. Those are the two things.
That's normally what it's for.
And
if it's not for that, then there's no point.
Why does Jasmine need a song if we already know all we need to know about her? I don't think it's one of those things where I think it's the danger of a remake is that you want to add all this stuff in for fan service when the thing that made the original great is allowing Jasmine again to speak her own mind and not needing to sing all about how she wants independence and love. You know what I mean? Because we already know that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
it just kind of ruins the reason of, having her do all these actions.
I think screenwriting is a very tricky, thing. I'm not going to diminish that because a lot of people, professional screenwriters, have a very difficult job. They take someone's vision and have to make it work for screen and make it interesting. They have to take into account camera work and sound design, all kinds of stuff. It's really hard. But if you just take a screenplay and water it down so much that you're just outright telling your audience from a character's mouth what is happening,
there's no point in having a movie.
There's no point, especially if we already have a film that's better anyway. So,
Well, and especially if you have an audience that's already judging you for remaking these movies for the reason of trying to, how to keep it in your bank.
Exactly. Latte, go ahead. I think you're gonna say something. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Another issue I have with the remake thing, because I think it hurts creativity. As a whole. Think about how much money they dump into remakes. They could be putting that money into new ideas, and it kind of snubs, new movies. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Like we
Yeah, I
talked
don't
about before. Yeah. Go ahead.
Blue
Yeah.
Moon. Like, okay. But when pretty much all the movies are remakes and they're all coming out as remakes, you just kind of feel overwhelmed at some point, you
Exactly.
know?
So when new stuff comes out, you're less excited for it because you're like, oh god, there's another fucking movie coming out.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
It's like
Oh my.
seriously, they thought it did good enough. It deserved a sequel. It's like when they made the and this isn't remakes, but it's like when they do some book to movies. Like you can either do
Right.
really good or really bad,
Right.
and we've seen it flop. Like Divergent. Like
Divergent. It's sad because it had. I am not. I never read the books. I won't lie to you. Like I've never read the Divergent books. Um, and but I can tell you that like I was saying before, screenwriting from source material that already exists is very tricky because you have to be very cautious that you're not either making a direct copy, because most of the time directly copying from book to screen makes it very confusing and kind of boring, you know. But you also have to be very careful that you're not diminishing what was already in the book. You know what I mean?
mhm.
You know what's a great, a really good example of good screenwriting from book to screen for me, and this is TV, not film, but is Bridgerton. And the first season of Bridgerton, I don't really enjoy that much, but I'm going to take the second season of Bridgerton as an example of excellent screenwriting from book to screen, right? If you watch the second season, I don't know if any of you have, but if you've watched the second season, one of the big changes they make from book to screen of Bridgerton is that obviously the cast is very racially diverse, right? Um, Bridgerton in the books is not that way, but the Bridgerton universe on the TV screen is very racially diverse. It's interesting. And that, I think, makes it more fun for us because we get to see people really enjoy that might not get to do those types of shows if we hadn't branched out that way,
Mhm.
you know? And it's not necessary for the characters to be white. Like it's not that big of a deal that they're
Mm-hmm.
not white. It doesn't matter, you know?
No.
So that's nice, right? We love diversity on screen. Another thing they do really well is they don't go point by point in the sec. Again, I had issues with the first season because first of all, they tried to explain why their universe is racially diverse, which just kind of spoils it because like it doesn't matter why it's racially diverse. It's okay that we don't know why because it's part of the escapism,
Mhm.
you know?
I'll
Like
say it's a
It's not
fantasy
our.
world. It's racially diverse.
it's
Okay,
great.
we don't need an explanation.
It's
That's
great.
just it's racially diverse. Period.
Fantastic. I'll happily accept that. I don't need an explanation. Do you know what I mean? Like an audience that's willing to watch a show like that doesn't need an explanation. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Don't treat your audience like they're dumb. That's a big thing. But the second season doesn't do. Another thing that they do really well is they don't make the second season of Bridgerton a shot by shot remake of the book. You know, the problem with the Bridgerton books is that they almost follow the exact formula in every book that they did in the first one, where it's like, oh, they got caught, now they have to get married. The second season of Bridgerton is based on the second book of the Bridgerton series, obviously. And in that, it's basically would have been the same plot as the first one. But in the show, it's more of an enemies to lovers dynamic, which is much more fun, in my opinion. So I really enjoy that they're not afraid to diversify their screenwriting and make it even more enjoyable. But what's a good example of bad screenwriting from book to screen? Let's take Divergent, right? Have any of you read Divergent?
I read Divergent.
Okay, so if you can probably help me with this, like, what
Mhm.
was the first book compared to the first? Like,
The
walk me through
first movie, in terms of the book, it actually did follow. I'd say a good 85% of the plot.
Yeah. So we know the plot is pretty consistent, which is fine because the plot of the first Divergent book is pretty well done, unlike the second Bridgerton book. You know. So
Well, the issue with that was
yeah.
they made this entire thing around this box that only people who are 100% divergent could unlock. except that box never existed in the book. So
Right.
here is this movie revolving around this entire box. And then here's the third movie revolving around all the events that happen in the second movie, which are just completely made up. And like the basic like plot steps, like they're being hunted, she gets captured, da 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 da. Those are from the book. But all the crap about the box and some of the dialogue and certain things that happened, like none of that existed. I have no idea where they came up with those ideas. I watched the
Right.
trailer and my mom was like, "Wow, that looks really good." So what's this box thing? And I went, "I have no idea." And she went, "What?" I went, "That doesn't exist. That wasn't
Yeah.
in the book." And she
Right.
was like,
And
"How can they do that though? How can you make a movie based on a book and not be based on the book?"
I it's one of those things where, yeah, like I said with Bridgerton, it's fine if there are aspects of plot that aren't in your book, but they have to serve your story
Mm-hmm.
well. Do you know what I mean?
There has to be a point
And
to them.
there has to be a point where it's like with the show, they didn't want to like make an exact copy of the first season, like with two different people. That would have been very boring and not fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so yeah, I think it's fine that they made it enemies to lovers. I said, I think that's very fun. Like, I like that. But with Divergent, if you're going to make a massive plot point, like, ooh, a box we have to unlock, like, that's fine if it serves the story, but it really doesn't. It's frankly very unnecessary for the story because when they did the whole box thing, it became very like surreal almost.
Mm-hmm. And they based the
Also,
entire movie around the box, and it was like
also
that box doesn't even exist.
was the whole like percentage of Divergent a thing in the book?
The percentage, I want to say it's been so long since I've read, but I do want to say that yes, the percentage thing did exist in the book. However,
Mm,
the way that they used it as like this key thing to the plot
yeah,
is not true.
it was more of like a DNA testing thing, right?
Yeah, it was like, oh my, it's like, oh, you're 20%
You're
divergent.
this
Oh,
percentage.
you're this percentage. You're this percentage. Oh, you're 100% divergent. That's dangerous. You know, it was more used to help fuel, you know, the certain like villains hate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that
Right.
box thing, I have no idea where the hell they pulled that out of.
Yeah, no, that's when you use minute plot details as major plot details suddenly, it makes yeah, it just ruins most of it, right?
Yeah, well,
And
it ruined it. Fans were not
I
happy
do,
and
and I
begged them to
also
stop, and they still made a third one because they're like, well, we need to
I
at least finish the series out, and it did so
very
bad.
badly.
It did so
I
bad.
but yeah, to be honest, I feel like you should be able to watch a film and enjoy it even if you are not the one that read the book. Even if you have not read the book, you should be able to enjoy the film,
Yeah, you
in
should be
my
able to
opinion.
sit down and watch the film and be able to go, oh, this is fine. You know, you shouldn't
I've never
have to read the book.
I've never read the Bridgerton books. Ever. I didn't like the first season. I didn't know anything about the books, but I didn't like certain aspects of the first season. Second season, so good. Genuinely really enjoyed it. And I don't even enjoy the shows like that very often. But it's all about, are you a good screenwriter? And I think when you have these remakes and these live action creations based on animated films, all you want to do is like, oh, let me just plop this screenplay and put it into this screenplay instead. And then you add some stuff
Yeah, it's
that
basically like
like
a copy paste type
maybe is
thing.
unnecessary and it's boring. You know, it's boring. It's unnecessary. I'm on Latte's page where I would get really excited if the monster movie era revived itself. I'm actually I'm reading through Carmilla right now, and if you don't know what Carmilla is, it's this very old vampire book. It was written before Dracula.
I'm
It's
familiar with it a little
you're
bit.
probably latte. I know you're into that stuff. I figured you'd probably be familiar with it. So the story is, if you're not familiar with the story of Carmilla, it's about a girl named Laura in, I believe, Hungary, or Austria, something like that. No, Romania. That's right. Somewhere over in Eastern Europe, in that area. Um, that this mysterious woman basically like begins haunting her, and like she crashes one day, and this girl with her mother just basically gets dropped off at their house. And when she was 6 years old, she had this vision of this strange woman like biting her in the chest,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then suddenly this girl appears, gets dropped off by their mother after a carriage accident outside of their manor, basically. And lo and behold, she looks exactly the same as the woman from her dream when she was 6 years old, right?
Yeah,
And
creepy.
weird shit. That's some weird shit, right? And also fun. This is an interesting thing about Carmilla is that it's like blatantly gay. It's just very gay. It's incredibly gay. They don't even like.
We love our
And
gay. We love
when
our gay.
it was written in like 1802 or something, but they don't even, when people said, "Oh, it's a it's a queer based vampire story," and I had watched the Carmilla web series through most. And if you haven't watched the Carmilla web series, it's very fun. I highly recommend it, and it is lesbian vampire type show. There's 3 seasons. It's worth your time. Really great. It won a couple of Webbies when it was out. Really fun. It's loosely based on the original novel, but it really isn't. It's just mostly the
I'll
names.
say hence the word loosely.
It's mostly the name and the vampire thing. It's based on. That's about it. But the original novel being so blatantly queer is really interesting, and I'm all for vampire stuff. And the vampire canon is very based in queer messaging anyway, like sexual liberation and
Mm-hmm.
society seeing it as deviancy. You know, so I'm all for them making something like that, but God forbid we have anything creative, it feels like. Because there's
Yeah.
no nostalgia for the monster movie era. That's why you don't see stuff like that. You know what I mean? No
Well, it's
one
a lot
that's
of
alive. Yeah.
people talk about them all the time. Oh, that movie. Oh, that's a classic. But that's
Yeah.
it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the conversation. Oh, it's a classic.
And I think I'm starting to see, like, First Kill is the most recent attempt I've seen of a Carmilla type show, like a lesbian vampire type thing. And I'd love to see more queer shows. Obviously, I'm always for queer media. But it was just I might get some hate for this, all right, but it was, for me personally, unwatchable. Just, just terrible. And I know there are a lot of people that really enjoy that show and think it's fun, and that's great. I'm so happy for you. But for me personally, I couldn't even watch through the second episode at all. Like, and it's a shame because like we've been talking about this whole time how we want more original ideas, and then give us stuff like this. Like, it's just bad.
But or it's a lot of companies. Fans ask for years for them to make a sequel to something or to make a remake, and then they give us a piece of garbage. It's like a slap
Exactly.
in the face. It's an insult.
It really
Like, that's
is.
not what we asked for. Why are you giving
Yeah.
us this?
Right. Right now, I'm planning on writing a. I don't know if it's going to be a screenplay or a book. I haven't decided. Like a lesbian vampire type thing. I don't know if I'm going to name it Carmilla or like based on the book or name it something else. But I'm planning on doing that just for me personally because I was just thinking about how I'm absolutely thirsty, for some
Mm.
queer lesbian vampire media.
I'm gonna tell you now, Muse and I, we were out and about. We went to this shop that was very, very, very gay.
Yeah.
Saw some magnets that I literally there that I was like, Panda would love these. One of them happens
What?
to be the shirt I got you.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, I love my Ivy and Ruby shirt. I've got to get.
I kid you not, guys. I went to like 10 different websites to find that shirt, and it's Ivy and Harley Quinn being all lovey dovey, and it is so cute.
Such a great shirt. Genuinely my favorite shirt. I haven't worn it in a minute because it's like in my pile that I need to put in my drawers. But I genuinely love that shirt. It's so great. It's wonderful. I love it. But yeah, no. So yeah, I'm planning on making a screenplay. Possibly, I haven't decided if it's going to be a book or a screenplay. Like I said, um, of basically like a Carmilla type thing, But I I think people do underestimate the power of something fresh from something old, but I think they're underestimating how old it has to be to work. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
main issue. You know what I mean? And
No,
Latte, I'm
I
sure.
agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, no. So basically, capitalism ruins everything, and they should make they should make a lesbian vampire movie. That's
There it
please.
is, folks. Panda has preached. Let it
That's
be known.
I think, and I think Latte. Is there anything else you want to add about this topic?
No, there's nothing I want to add. We hit everything.
I think that was the big points. Like, it. I'm really hoping we get more stuff like Turning Red from Pixar and whatnot.
Yeah, I love Turning Red. I forced Muse to
Really
watch
enjoyed
that.
that. Really enjoyed it. Very, very cute film.
Forced
I'm
Muse to
really
watch
hoping
it. Happily forced her to watch it.
it's
Also
good.
forced Shiota to watch it, and yes, they loved it. So.
I see Disney has been doing well with the original animated films. I've been
Mm-hmm.
enjoying those recently. I'm really hoping that continues in the next couple of years, and we don't continue to get remakes. To be
Yeah,
honest,
well,
but wish me luck.
that relies on Disney,
When I get signed
unfortunately.
to Warner Brothers for my screen, remember all of you very
Aww.
fondly. I will thank you all in my Oscar speech. So
Aww. That's all we ask. That's all we ask.
Emmy, I don't know. Sure. It depends. But regardless, this has been a really interesting topic. We haven't had an in-depth discussion like this.
I know we've been doing a lot of just
Diddling around on the podcast. Good to
just
have.
diddling around, talking about our day, talking about our week, and as nice as that is to give people updates and stuff, it does get boring after a while.
I'm glad to. It's great to have a topic to really dig into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I think we've been going for like over an hour.
I will check the time. We have been going for an hour and 3 minutes. So you are correct, over an hour. Clearly this was a good topic. Go Latte.
Yes, but Latte needs to pick on
Latte, you are idea person now.
every time she's picked a topic.
Okay.
Every
I'll
time
take
she's
this
picked, every time she's picked a topic, it's been a good podcast. Legit.
I'll say, yeah, legit. Every time she's picked the topics, like some of our best debates and discussions that we have were topics that she picked.
Exactly. It's big credit.
Yep, we give credit where credit is deserved. And in this case, she definitely deserves that credit, so. But yeah, thank you for joining us, guys. Thank you. Somebody want to close us out?
All right. Well, we want to thank all of you. We want to thank all of you for just listening in to us discussing this topic, and we'd love to. If you do end up listening and want to comment, please feel free to do so because
Yes.
I love to dig into comments of what other people think.
We do read them. Wolf reads them.
I would love to continue on this or like talk about more media based topics in the podcast from now on. So like share or just continue listening in. We thank you so much for those of you that do listen in. And we hope you have a great upcoming work week.
Be safe.
It's summer now. Those of you that are taking vacations, remain safe. Remember, COVID is still out there. As Wolf can tell
As
you.
Wolf can confirm, I take my mask off for just a few minutes. No, I'm pretty sure I got it from my dad. We're fairly certain at this point I got it from him.
From where?
We're fairly certain that I got it from my dad. Simply
Yeah.
because he started feeling crappy literally like shortly before I started feeling crappy, and it was kind of one of those things where it would happen to be when he and I had been around each other a lot that day because my sister and my mom went off to take pictures, and we wanted nothing to do with that. So, pretty sure I got it from him. But that's as you do, parents, COVID, love them. Not really, not to the COVID, love parents, but not the COVID. Don't get COVID. It sucks. Can attest.
Oh, well. Good luck in the upcoming work week, everybody. Be cautious. And thank you for listening.
Goodbye.